Pistons so far perfect at home. Another packed house here at the Palace. They're 3-0. And Jamal Tinsley and Chauncey Billups the matchup at point. They go right to Jermaine O'Neal, who has been on some tear lately. Blocked by Rasheed Wallace.
The four-arm tetrahedra of Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace suffocating Jermaine O'Neal inside.
And many think that that was the biggest benefit of obtaining Rasheed Wallace, the defensive end. Pistons so tough defensively, although they have not nearly got to that level yet this early in the season. Wallace has to hoist up a three and knocks it down. That's not a bad way to start the game. Block O'Neal and hit a three.
Well, you step right out when you're 7 feet tall. Everything goes your way early on.
Here's Steven Jackson. What an important role he will play. This is his first shot, especially with Reggie Miller out probably until Christmas time with the broken bone in left hand. Pacers, as we mentioned, 6-2. It's not bad considering they're pretty banged up early in the season, Bill.
And that's really drawn the ire of Jermaine O'Neal, who doesn't feel the Pacers are getting any credit.
And Wallace able to knock down his first shot. Wallace came back in their last game in a good victory against the Minnesota Timberwolves. As you had mentioned earlier, Bill, he had missed the previous two because of the death of his older brother. There's Jermaine O'Neal way off the mark.
Transition game here. Beautiful run out.
Can't finish, but right there is Hamilton, and he couldn't hold on. Ben Wallace simply out hustling everybody on that play.
Artest needs to get it going here to provide an emotional.
And Ron Artest knocks it in from downtown. He has been terrific from three-point range at 42%.
Artest, the last 3 games since the self-inflicted wounds of a week ago, 25 points on 58% shooting.
Ben Wallace looking for his offense early and draws the foul. Jermaine O'Neal will pick up his first, and Wallace to the free throw line.
A lot of concern in Detroit about the relatively slow start. Remember, this team last year, they were 16-13 after 29 games. That struggle.
They went on that 13-game winning streak. Larry Brown knows, again, he's got some differences to work with this year. Obviously, the core is back, but some key players like Mike James, Mehmet Okur, Corliss Williamson are now gone as Wallace misses the first. He's only shooting 45% from the free throw line.
I think the biggest loss is Mike James. The way that Mike James, teaming with Lindsey Hunter, would come in at the second guard rotation there and just put all kinds of defensive pressure, 94 feet, just opened up the game for Detroit.
And often the two of them came in together and really created havoc. Artest steps back. And Ron Artest 2 for 2 from the field. The thing about Artest is, despite all the off-the-court things that are going on with him in recent weeks, his play has never been better. As you brought up at the top, Bill, his offensive game is really starting to expand.
And he's learned to let the off-court distractions go. Nice tip by Artest.
2-on-1. Jackson. And Steven Jackson able to put it in. Jackson averaging just under 16 a game. He has been a nice addition for the Pacers, giving him that outside threat.
When I welcomed him back to the big time of the NBA this year after spending last year with the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, but it was the professionalism that he showed in last year's lost season that enabled that trade to be made. Larry Bird would never have picked him up if he had laid down in Atlanta.
Good defense from Jackson time. Shot clock at 1 as Wallace throws it away. Tinsley takes his time. Artest blocked by Tayshaun Prince. Artest's second effort won't go. Crozier on the follow.
Quick release on the stick back by Crozier. Crozier putting up very nice numbers. A scoring power forward. A 9-1 run right now for the Indiana Pacers.
Crozier, who didn't start a game last year, has been the starter because of Jeff Foster being out with the rib injury. And the 9-1 run now for Indiana gives them that 3-point lead. Shot clock winding down again. Crozier deflects it out of bounds. And he'll take it out on the baseline with 3 left on the clock.
Nice trapping, scrambling defense by the Pacers that time. They're going to have to resort to a lot of that. They are giving up size at literally every position against the Detroit Pistons.
Wallace had to shoot it. And Rasheed Wallace knocks it out of bounds. Good defense early from Indiana. You talk so much about the Piston defense. The Pacer defense is excellent. That's not the only player on the team that plays quality D.
Well, they're going to have to really play the defense in the backcourt, because last year that was the difference in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Tinsley off the mark. Rasheed Wallace the rebound.
Starting backcourt matchup last year, Indiana-Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals. Detroit, 218 points. Indiana, 97.
Well, it's one of the reasons why Steven Jackson was obtained for Al Harrington. Phillips. Nice. Play moves for Chauncey Phillips with his first bucket.
I think the biggest challenge for Larry Brown and the world champion Pistons this year is going to be to stay healthy.
Jermaine O'Neal off the mark. Ball knocked out of bounds. It'll go the other way. It certainly is a key for every team, but also Larry Brown. A lot of the players talking about Bill how after all the big games that they played last year during the spring and in the finals, they haven't had the same intensity on a consistent basis so far. That's natural for a defending champ.
And that's what Larry Brown's telling us. Larry Brown has the comfort chair over there recovering from hip surgery himself. But I think that Detroit will be able to win the title again without the home court advantage. They won't be able to win if this starting five is not completely intact.
Prince couldn't hold on, so it's Pacer ball. Bruce Brown that surgery to help repair an artificial hip. You see that chair he has. They bring it out from his office because he can't sit on the bench. Gar Hurd, to his left there, was the head coach while Brown recovered from the surgery.
He's so nice if Gar could ever coach a complete team that was healthy for once in his long-time NBA coaching career.
I like what Joe Dumars said, because Brown wasn't expected back the last game. He said he's the first coach in NBA history to be game-time decision. Artest just kind of flips it up with the left hand. Rickman the push. But all four of the five Pacers get back.
Nice help defense, Jermaine O'Neal.
Rip Hamilton puts it in. As good as Hamilton and Phillips were last year, their numbers across the board, scoring, rebounding, assists, are all up.
Last 3 games, Rip Hamilton, 23 points a game, 5 assists a game. 4 straight games over 20 points for Rip Hamilton.
Single coverage, now Phillips goes to double. Artest, little hop step. And Ron Artest stroking from the outside early. He's got 8 points. And the Pacers up by 4.
Chauncey Phillips needs to go down and help Rasheed Wallace on that double team. That just frees up wide open shots. Artest will knock that down all night.
Nice feed inside. Tayshaun Prince, the perfect entry pass. Set up by 4. It's obviously now a tie game as we're midway through the first.
It comes to the top, and that's where that entry pass over the top needs to be delivered from. He tried to throw it from the wing on the strong side. Oh, nice back cut by Steve Jackson.
And Jackson able to knock it down. Steven Jackson won a ring with the Spurs, so he has the playoff experience despite his, as you call, year sabbatical in Atlanta.
Relatively high scoring game in the early going.
Phillips draws the foul. And Chauncey Phillips will shoot a couple of free throws as the Pistons call timeout. Good start early. This has become a nice rivalry after a tough playoff series last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, and a close one here in the early minutes.
Mike had a chance to speak to Larry Brown before the game, and sitting in this chair is not really comfortable at all. The problem is he has to keep his leg a bit elevated, so he does get up from time to time. That presents a second problem. He's supposed to be on his crutches, and he's on his crutches every time except for game time. And he's pretty unprotected when he's up there standing without his crutches and without anybody around him. Another problem with this whole thing is he was back after just a couple of weeks, and he was expected to be gone. His doctors had hoped that he would stay away for 8 weeks. With Larry, that just wasn't possible. He said, I couldn't even watch the television, Mike. On and off and on and off. He was driving his wife, Shelly, and his kids crazy. They just had to get him away from the TV and give him the final score.
Especially the 2 games they lost, Jim, in Denver and in Utah. And he wasn't upset with the team's play. He was upset that he wasn't there to help them. As he's beginning his now 33rd season as a head coach, 22nd as a head coach in the NBA.
Larry Brown, the oldest coach in NBA history to ever win the championship. And his family, Shelly and the kids, are living here in Detroit this year, the beautiful suburb of Bloomfield Hills.
Steven Jackson can't hit. And Rasheed Wallace, good job by Tayshaun Prince to tip it away.
Tayshaun Prince coming off his best game of the season in their big win against Minnesota, 19 points. They just took apart the Timberwolves down the stretch.
his numbers up as well. The crowd chanting for Rasheed Wallace. And a defensive 3 seconds call against the Pacers.
Defensive 3-second violation.
So a technical foul. Reggie Miller again expected back around Christmas time. Started off in preseason playing very well. Said he was going to be more aggressive this year, and then hurt himself at the end of preseason.
Another UCLA legend who keeps himself in perfect shape all the time. Reggie was so fired up for injuries. The broken left hand by Reggie Miller, exacerbated by the fact that another guard, Anthony Johnson, has got a broken right hand. Jonathan Bender out tonight with a bad knee. Scott Pollard has missed 4 straight games with a bad back.
Rasheed Wallace and a foul. Crozier hit him from behind. Wallace kind of put a little English on the ball instead of dunking it. But got a nice comfortable bounce.
Very tough matchup here for Austin Crozier, who gives up position there and just allows Rasheed Wallace to do whatever he wants on the offensive glass. Sometimes you have to give yourself up and not think you're going to get the yourself. Just take your man out of the play, particularly someone who's athletically gifted as Rasheed Wallace.
So 3 of their top 7 players have not played yet. Yet they're 6-2. 2 of them starters because Miller was going to start, and the idea was to have Steven Jackson come off the bench. And of course, Anthony Johnson is the backup point guard. Very solid backup player. Artest, good, strong move. Artest has 10 points. There's Scott Pollard, who's out with his back injury. He's missed the last 5 games. He's Foster with a rib, and he's expected back maybe a little before Christmas.
And you're missing 2 starters with Foster and Miller. You're missing your backup point, Anthony Johnson, who's critical and was very successful in hitting on Cheng-ju Billups in the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago.
Here comes Steven Jackson.
Well-played game, like only 1 turnover to this point.
Crozier, and Crozier continues to play well in that starting role. In his 6 starts, he's averaging over 14 games, shooting over 50%.
But it's Rasheed, like you said, an early tempo that really has been nice. 7 points and 6 rebounds, including the opening 3.
Prince, nice move from Tayshaun Prince. Those long arms with the rebound.
So much length, so much size in this entire front line. Complemented nicely by the big backcourt. That's why I think Detroit is the best team in basketball.
Wallace. Not an assist, but he gave a nice opportunity to Ben Wallace, and we're talking.
Rick Carlisle has seen enough. His team is getting pounded on the offensive glass here. The rotations are not quick enough. They need some serious adjustments right now.
The 2 Wallaces have 12 of the 19 points and 8 of their 10 rebounds.
The rotation's just way too slow. Who's going to get in front of Ben Wallace?
All tied up.
And the hair is blown out, which he does here at the Palace. And as Bob Dylan always said, it's better to grow it out than leave it on the inside, scrambling up the brainwaves.
First Bob Dylan reference of the evening. We'll keep track. Jackson. Oh, nice move from Jackson. Can't finish, and Jermaine O'Neal with authority.
Jermaine O'Neal playing with a very sore knee. He opted to not have surgery in the offseason after that debilitating injury that forced him to miss most of his workouts over the summer, suffered in last year's Eastern Conference Finals.
His recent play suggests nothing is bothering him. And as Prince, Ben Wallace, the offensive rebound, but he throws it right to Tinsley. Nice play from Tinsley. Just took his time and methodically placed it in.
And what is it that Rick Carlisle says about Tinsley? The barometer of the Pacers. When he limits the high-risk play and activity, he is so much more effective, as are his teammates.
And right now, they feel that Tinsley, in terms of impact to the team's success, is just as important as Artest and O'Neal. As Rasheed Wallace knocks it down.
Well, Rasheed continues to shine. What's happening is that when the Pistons miss a shot, they're getting the offensive rebound 50% of the time. That won't get it done for Indiana.
Artest draws the foul. Artest has mixed the offensive game up nicely. You saw him hit some threes, and also he's got that power game.
They need to get him the ball more. He's the one who's really got the rhythm going.
And there's Tinsley. Just signed that huge deal. He's in his 4th year now, signed a 6-year extension. And he had his problems last year against Billups. He was banged up a bit during that playoff series, but Rick Carlisle says he's almost has it. And what he means by that is he's almost ready to be a consistently strong player night in and night out. Reminder, NBA TV Saturday, Orlando at Indiana. Play these Pacers. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. ESPN next Wednesday. Detroit at Cleveland. Coverage again at 8 p.m. And then on TNT next Thursday. The Pacers again host Minnesota. And then the Nets and the Clippers. Coverage beginning at 8 p.m.
Talk about the job Tinsley does on Billups normally. 10 games last year, Indiana, Detroit. Chauncey Billups, an all-star caliber player, the finals of the MVP, averaged just 11 points on 27% shooting.
The Eldon Campbell in the game for the first time. Hamilton. And he's fouled. Also in the game for the first time, David Harrison, the 7-foot rookie from Colorado, picks up his first.
We are seeing from Detroit the benefits of winning the World Championship. The team chemistry, the understanding of the offense, much the way we saw Miami on Wednesday night in Milwaukee. The continuity of the low post offense. You dump it inside, big men. That time Eldon Campbell, then Rasheed Wallace, then Ben Wallace, laying it off to cutters. A thing of beauty right now for Larry Brown.
The chemistry was such a key. And Larry Brown did not underestimate that, and that's why they're a bit of a work in progress now, because they have some new players and they lost some key guys, as we mentioned earlier.
I think most important is the fact that they've had some guys out. Chauncey Billups with the sprained ankle missed one of the games. The Utah game, Ben Wallace missed 2. Larry Brown missed 5.
Meanwhile, Tinsley doing a nice job. 4 assists, doesn't have a turnover. In fact, the team doesn't have a turnover. Tinsley for 3. He's really starting to mature as a player. And the key is, according to Rick Carlisle, he doesn't make as many high-risk decisions anymore.
But good things happen when Ron Artest has the ball early in the shot clock.
Prince. Artest trying to stop him, but Tinsley with the steal. Nice feet ahead. And Freddie Jones was fouled from behind by Richard Hamilton. I don't think it was a clear path foul. One of the Pistons seemed to be ahead of him, so they'll just take it out of bounds.
Freddie Jones, a tremendous opportunity right now in his 3rd year, University of Oregon.
Let's see, the key here, if it's a clear path, if any of the Pistons are ahead, Freddie Jones, and yes, Billups is ahead. If Billups had been behind him, then it would have been a clear path foul, which would have resulted in 1 free throw and the ball out of bounds.
But Freddie Jones has just been snake bit by an incredible string of injuries. Off-season shoulder surgery, a couple of quad muscle injuries, a banged up knee, suffered in a big victory at Minnesota for Indiana.
Tinsley against Lindsey Hunter has come on. Darvin Ham.
Incredibly high-scoring game for these 2 teams.
Good ball movement. O'Neal. And O'Neal bumped his way to the basket. Those are the fouls we've seen called quite a bit this year. The extended forearm as Wallace picks up his first, leading the progress.
One of the nice things about this Pacer team, though, since Larry Bird took over as president of basketball operations, is that they don't make excuses. They don't whine and complain. In fact, last year, the opening team meeting, Larry Bird came in to address the guys and said, hey, look, we're not going to say that we're a young team, that we don't have any experience, or that we're going to have injuries. When we win, we're going to act like champions. When we lose, we're going to take our whipping and we're going to go home and we're going to learn our lessons and come back and get it done the next day.
You saw Eddie Gill come in. So we've got a Bob Dylan reference and a Larry Bird reference, all in the first quarter. We're off to a good start. Bird and Carlisle, of course, have become good friends, played together in Boston. And Carlisle has done a terrific job coaching. He was a member of the '86 world champion Boston Celtics. And now in his 2nd year in Indiana, had 2 51 seasons here as the head coach of Detroit, and O'Neal goes 1 for 2.
And one of the things that makes this rivalry so interesting is that both head coaches have coached the other teams very recently.
And were both very successful with the other teams. Eldon Campbell. Nice move from Campbell, who's probably going to have to play more minutes than he did last season.
Right. Larry Brown telling us that Eldon came in great shape to camp and really ready. You know, the loss of Memo Okur and Corliss Williamson will force him to get out there a lot more.
Terrific defense from Lindsey Hunter. And a double dribble called on Harrison. But Hunter caused that whole mess with his defense on Eddie Gill on the perimeter.
So fun to always come into the World Championship Series. And everybody's all fired up and the excitement. And to see Lindsey Hunter, now a two-time world champion. He was on the Lakers' third championship in the Shaquille O'Neal era.
Well, that was their first turnover. Artest comes right back with the steal. Not a smart play at all from Hunter. Artest so strong, barely felt it. He's got a chance for a three-point play.
Artest is really playing a disciplined game tonight. This guy who has just been slaughtered in the media the last 10 days. He just will not let it die. It never really affects the Indiana Pacers on the court. Ron Artest fired up, focused tonight.
Although it did affect teammates. Her teammates were annoyed with him, and as Rick Carlisle said, that he had some fences to mend. Teammates have told him, and Jermaine O'Neal has said, hey, listen, we don't want any distractions. This has a chance to be a special year. But once Artest has been on the court, he has not been anything distracting to the Pacers, just their opponents. Hamilton, blocked by Harrison, but a foul. And Harrison, the rookie, upset. And when a rookie gets upset, the official looks at him twice. That's his second foul.
Tremendous block up top. The contact, though, down low. I don't know if it had any impact on the shot itself. Rip Hamilton, who's never been an All-Star, certainly won this year.
He had lost the ball, but it's a foul until the shooter returns to normal floor position.
Harrison, one of only two players in the NBA currently from the University of Colorado. Chauncey Billups, the other one. They both played for the same college coach. Now they're the Buffaloes.
Harrison was their first round pick, 29 in the draft. I remember his dad. His dad played very good defensive end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Dennis Harrison. They called him Bigfoot Harrison.
David Harrison, the fourth of Bigfoot Harrison's 12 children, who's now doing community work with the children in his hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. Congratulations and thank you, Bigfoot.
Shot clock winding down. Chest, nice fake. Oh, what a first quarter for Ron Artest with 4/10 of a second remaining. And that will end the opening period. Artest, known for his defense, has half of the Pacer points, 17. And here you have one of the premier defensive teams in the NBA, the Pistons. They give up 34 points on their home floor per quarter. A rather efficient first period for Indiana. They shoot 54% from the field, hit all 4 of their threes, and only turn it over one time. Not a bad way to start on the road. Pacers. Second quarter is set to begin in Auburn Hills. The Pacers leading 34-27. The NBA officials have to be very observant. Ronnie Garrettson not only observant what happens on the court, but off the court as well.
You got a new dude going? What you got going? You got a new dude going?
I think so. You know what happened? I quit combing it this summer a certain way, so I just went with it.
Important basketball matters being discussed during breaks in action. Carl Garrettson in his 18th year in the NBA. Of course, he's the son of former longtime referee Darryl Garrettson. We also have tonight Tommy Nunez Jr., who's a rookie ref, who's the son of another terrific longtime referee, Tommy Nunez Sr.,
who just retired. His first year out of the league, will miss Tommy Sr.
The third official, Tony Donahue, his dad did not ref in the NBA. And Tony Rice a little bit off on his first shot attempt, but apparently they got a piece of it. There's young Tommy Nunez. A couple of proud fathers watching their sons with the whistles tonight.
One of the reasons that the Pacers have control of this game is that they're not turning the ball over. They only have one. Detroit has 4 turnovers. Indiana has converted 8 points off those 4 turnovers. And here's another one right now. Fast break opportunity.
2-on-1. Jones just really never got control of it, nor did Antonio McDyess. They come the other way.
Second unit time for the Indiana Pacers. Can they sustain Artest's brilliance?
Bad pass from Smith Parker, who just came in, and Eddie Gill. Oh, hard foul. That might be a flagrant. Garrettson and Nunez looking at each other, and they're going to discuss it.
He grabbed the body. There was no attempt at all to make a play on the ball. What's up with that?
Let's see what Tommy Nunez says. It's going to be a personal? No, it's a regular one. But it has nothing to do with if you go for the ball. That's not the criteria for a flagrant foul.
But there's no play. He grabbed the body.
But that doesn't have anything to do with it. The key is if it's unnecessary contact,
Which
and what they look for,
that is.
they look for windups, they look for contact, and they look for follow through. And that was close. I agree. It's a borderline. Which Parker played his basketball with Fordham.
Isn't that where you went to college?
Yes, it was. No, I did not play basketball at Fordham. I figured I'd answer before you asked. I wanted to.
Did you referee there?
Yes, I did introduce. And I took a lot of grief.
Well deserved, I'm sure.
I'm sure of it. Oh, beautiful pass. The kid from Fordham throws a perfect alley-oop to Tayshaun Prince.
This pressure defense in the backcourt. This is what Hunter and Parker need to do for Larry Brown. Try to turn the tempo and tide for Detroit.
Gill again getting the minutes because Anthony Johnson is out. Count it, and a foul. Eddie Gill, a journeyman with a chance for a three-point play. So some backup point guards making some nice plays. Let's go back to Smush Parker's pass.
The zone defense not working for Rick Carlisle. The weak side is wide open. Tayshaun Prince, and then Eddie Gill right down the lane. And the Detroit backup guards are just committing silly fouls.
Eddie Gill in his fourth year in the NBA for 2 junior colleges. Played in 2 foreign countries, 4 domestic minor leagues, the ABA, the IBL, the CBA, the NBDL.
He did a nice job for the Portland Trail Blazers last year. Comes over as a free agent.
And will be the backup point guard until Anthony Johnson gets healthy.
Anthony Johnson telling us before the game he's about a week to 10 days away.
Hunter. Prince steps up. And Freddie Jones, who has terrific leaping ability, able to grab that one.
Well, as soon as they take Rasheed and Ben Wallace out of the game, Detroit loses control of the backboards. How long will they be sitting down?
Artest draws the foul on McDyess. Felt the contact and threw it up at the basket. And some of the key players for the Pistons getting a breather. And more free throws for Ron Artest, who has now hit 25 consecutive free throws. And for the season, he's at 93%. 17 points already for Artest. Looking for all the latest news on the NBA? Watch NBA TV Insiders every weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBA TV to find out tomorrow's NBA news today. Let's go over to Jim Gray.
Hey, Mike, I spoke to Ron Artest before the game. He says he has no issues with the team. He's fine with everybody. He's talked to everybody. He's worked it all out. He said the issues were with him, not with the team. What he did, he is accountable for. He's talked to everybody. I spoke to Jermaine O'Neal about it. He says it'll all work itself out. This is not an ongoing grudge thing with Ron. We need him, we want him, and we like him. We're putting it all behind us, and we're moving forward. That seems to be the case with everybody here.
He has, Jim, but he's acknowledged, Artest, that some of his teammates have been frustrated by the off-the-court distractions. But Rick Carlisle told us last night, Bill, as a whistle before the shot, that Artest did not ask for a month off. He did not ask off to go tour or promote his upcoming CD event, Girls R&B Band. He wanted mainly to spend time with his family and to rest because he's had a lot of various injuries.
Ron Artest is a very likable person when you get to know him. One of the problems that he has, though, is that there's always a new story. There's always a new issue coming up, always a new request. And he's got to learn to move beyond that, focus in on the job at hand.
I thought as Artest gets a breather, one of his teammates, Jamison Brewer, who played with him a couple of years in Indiana, who's now with the Knicks. Jamison Brewer said, I love Ron Artest, but I really don't understand him. But he is a very loyal family man who was very upset by missing a lot of time with the kids. He said things wrong, and when you have a job to do, you can't ask for time off.
And the major question is, does he know that his request was wrong?
He's gone back and forth on that. He's given different answers. Jones from way outside won't go. James Jones, a second-year player from Miami.
But what if he had just said, okay, don't pay me, I need some time off? Would this furor have even happened?
Probably not. Steven Jackson knocks it down. He's talked about that money's not an important issue. But the one thing you can count on when the game starts, he is going to give everything he has. He's like Ben Wallace. He not only never takes a game off, he doesn't take a possession off.
right now. The Indiana Pacers are really feeding off the way Ron Artest has set the table tonight.
And the Pacers very impressive with this 13-point lead, shooting 54%.
The crowd is stunned. The NBA's best crowd lead the league in attendance again.
And another one from downtown. They're 5 of 6. As Freddie Holmes gives them a 16-point lead, and Larry Brown will call timeout.
Trying to stop the leading.
The Pistons are all about defense, but their defense having a tough time stopping the Indiana Pacers. They are red hot, 55% from the field.
.8:27 to play in the first half. The Pacers have jumped out to a 16-point advantage on the road over the Pistons. Ron Artest continues to be red hot. Well, the Green Bay Packers and Houston Texans are going to do battle on NFL Sunday Night Football. Don't miss Brett Favre still getting it done at that advanced age. The veteran gunslinger's got a great running game, but when he needs to, he can still move it down the field with his arm. Just ask the Vikings in the last minute of their matchup from last week. So see if the Pistons can get something going offensively. Just 29 points here in the early going of the second quarter and down 16 at the hands of the Pacers. Ron Artest, 18 points on 6 of 9 shooting. He's made both of his 3-point attempts. It's going that well for the Pacers. He's the only guy in double digits. Pistons don't have anybody with 10 points or more. Let's get back out to Mike Breen.
UC Pacers, 9 straight points to take this big lead. Foul on the entry pass, trying to get it to McDyess. Jermaine O'Neal picks up his second.
Playing with a very small lineup, as so many successful teams are doing around the NBA. Phoenix and Seattle really come to mind.
Carlisle can't wait to get his squad back, meanwhile.
But you literally have 4 guards out there with Jermaine O'Neal, who is jawing with Rasheed Wallace right now. Rick Carlisle, realizing the disparity there and nobody to guard Anthony McDyess, quickly comes back to starting power forward Austin.
See the numbers in the second quarter, dominant so far. Phillips back in, with Smush Parker, Antonio McDyess, Rasheed Wallace, and Richard Hamilton. And McDyess, tip won't go, close with a rebound.
Indiana's rough game so far this year. They've been over points 6 times. No longer the grinded out, conserved Indiana Pacers that we've seen in the Rick Carlisle team.
Nice feed to O'Neal, and he's fouled by McDyess. Meanwhile, the other end of the spectrum, Bill, last year the Pacers, with that great defense, team scored 100 points on them 4 times all year. This season, and granted they've had Ben Wallace missing a couple of games, but this season already 3 times teams have scored 100 points on them.
Well, they took the second game of the season off. After the ring ceremony, they went over to Toronto and just got thrashed over there. This Piston team, needs to realize the importance of every game as the defending world champions.
Now, Rasheed Wallace, while O'Neal was ready to shoot the free throw, was talking quite a bit to Jermaine O'Neal. The conversation continues. You have to be careful there because you're not allowed to. It's a violation if you distract the shooter.
I have seen referees blow the free throw shooter if he misses to get another attempt.
Right. Well, what the official will do, Ronnie Garrettson, if the free throw's good, he'll let it go. And if they miss it, then they'll call the violation. 11 straight points now, and the lead is up to 18, and the Palace has become rather quiet. Hamilton's been short on almost every shot that he's taken. 1 for 5. Eddie Gill.
Nice.
And O'Neal comes up short. Hamilton trying to get some ingle. Oh, McDyess. Terrific play for McDyess, but he was out of bounds when he fell down.
So nice to see Antonio McDyess back having an impact on the NBA after the years and years of the debilitating knee injury.
Had 3 surgeries on our right knee in less than 2 years. Was one of the up-and-coming real stars of the league and one of the real gentlemen. He's just so happy to be out there. This is a perfect situation for him after signing a 4-year contract because he doesn't have to produce big numbers or play big minutes.
When he's been out there, he's very well. He's got 3 games with 12 points or more.
Jermaine O'Neal, pretty turnaround from O'Neal. That's just his second field goal.
The defense just looks sink and kilter for the Detroit Pistons. I'm surprised that Ben Wallace has been sitting on the bench for so long.
A 20 courtesy of this 13-0 run. And the crowd really is stunned. Parker. Chris Parker ends the run. With 6.5 remaining here in the second. Nobody got back on defense. And the defensive lapses continue for the world champs.
Larry Brown letting him play through it. Ben Wallace finally getting up off the bench.
I just heard a couple of boos. Hamilton, second try. Chris Parker. Fight for the rebound. Here comes Steven Jackson.
Look at the way the Pacers are running out. Transition defense very porous tonight for Detroit.
And he goes short. Hamilton the rebound. Hamilton's done a good job on the boards this year, both Hamilton and Billups. And a reaching foul call on Steven Jackson. He's ready to argue, but decided not to.
O'Neal wide open underneath the basket. Nobody even identifying the fact that he's back right now. Detroit trails by 20. The world champions in a world of hurt.
In street clothes. Now back to Mike Breen.
2 to 4 weeks, but I think he's just a couple of weeks away, and he's really chomping at the bit, Mike.
Thank you, Jim. Strength and conditioning coach Billy Green putting players through that pregame workout here at the Palace. Wallace on the second effort.
But the fact that Reggie Miller, in his 18th year, still so disciplined, so committed. What a great presence on and off the court. The ice treatment, that is not fun to sit with your feet in a bucket of ice.
You've had many of those days, my friend.
Far too many.
Wallace trying to get physical now with O'Neal. Shot clock winding down. Shot won't go, and Wallace with another rebound, his fifth.
Nice patience by Rasheed Wallace. Didn't try to do too much after he forced O'Neal into a very difficult shot. Another turnover for the Pistons.
Tinsley throws it ahead to Steven Jackson. Jackson kicks it back out. Artest for three. And I have a feeling that last time out, the Pistons talked about defensive intensity.
They seem to have picked it up just a bit.
Tayshaun Prince with his second field goal.
If you're the Indiana Pacers, though, continue the offensive onslaught. Don't slow down. Don't look back. Rick Carlisle very concerned about losing momentum at this point.
A 20-second timeout. We saw a little change in the intensity for Detroit. Wants to talk it over as the Pistons showing a little bit what they did the other night against Minnesota, which was one of their best games of the season.
Well, it comes down to Ben Wallace with the very strong offensive rebounding performance, and then right away, quickly, Ben Wallace with the rebound, the quick igniting of the fast break. No hesitation whatsoever by third-year pro Tayshaun Prince. It's the first transition basket for Detroit. They now trail in transition points by 9. And the fact that Indiana's not turning the ball over at all really limited their opportunities there.
When you consider the type of pressure Detroit normally puts on, only one turnover for the Indiana Pacers. And we're a quarter and a half into the game, more than that.
But also interesting rotations by Larry Brown. He's kept major forces on the bench for long stretches here in the first half.
Tinsley's played a strong game. And Crozier's foul on the pass. Yep, on the pass.
Very strong double team that time. And unlike the previous possession when Rasheed backed off, that time both the Wallaces came in and got on the arms of Austin Crozier, resulting in the foul.
But that's the 15th foul. So Crozier will go to the line as Rasheed Wallace picks up his second. Crozier has been terrific from the free throw line. 10th in the NBA. At 92%. The team is shooting very well. What's coming up after this one, the second game of our doubleheader, as UB Brown and the Memphis Grizzlies in Sacramento at that loud building called Arco Arena. Grizzlies and the Kings, a couple of very good teams that have struggled out of the gate.
And you can ask the question about both the Grizzlies and the Kings. Which team will show up? Will it be the magnificent Grizzlies that trash the Portland Trailblazers in Portland the other night? Will it be the magnificent Sacramento Kings that went down to Phoenix and handed them their first home court loss of the season?
I wasn't going to ask that question. I asked it for you, but it was a good thing to bring up. Rasheed Wallace double. Tinsley gets his hands on another one.
Tinsley's been pretty well. Played a very solid 4 game here.
Tinsley's 3rd game in assists, 10th in steals. He is so important. How often you hear as Tinsley goes, that's how far the Pacers can go. Shot clock winding down. Artest, nice pull-up jumper. And then Wallace tips it. Last touch by Steven Jackson.
Outstanding execution of a fundamental rocker step move by Ron Artest. Tayshaun Prince is a very good defensive player. We have seen him dominate games. Ron Artest looked at him and said, "You're bigger, you're stronger, you're more athletic."
Well, he's not stronger.
No way, no way. It's a lot bigger. And he looked at him and said, "There's nothing you can do about this."
Rip Hamilton. Hamilton now with 8 points, and the lead cut to 16. There's Steven Jackson. Nice feed to Crozier. But Rasheed Wallace's presence altered that shot. Jermaine O'Neal surrounded by Pistons, blocked but a foul. And Rasheed Wallace hit with a technical. The overly demonstrative reaction to the call prompted the technical.
Good by the officials on the technical. You can't show up the ref. Larry Brown, against doctor's orders, up out of his chair all the way to half court. Somebody's got to grab Rasheed and keep him out of there.
Rasheed talking to Tommy Nunez Jr., the rookie ref. Yeah, he seems to have, it's a good civil conversation. In fact, it's not a bad thing to do at this point. He's a rookie ref. They don't know each other yet. Go over and talk it over.
How about waiting with 3 possessions and then muttering under your breath?
Before you calm, or, you know, talk to him after you calm down.
And that's an easy play to call, right?
He fouled him. Might not have been a hard foul, but he hit him on the arm.
Jermaine O'Neal does not seem to have the explosiveness in his legs. Does not seem to have the elevation like that.
Well, his foot and knee had been up and down bothering him. By the way, Rasheed Wallace's personal foul was his 3rd. And here's why they go a little dance. And I think the wave came after he was hit with a technical. But I saw him, I've seen him play a couple of times. Last week I was at Conseco Fieldhouse, and it didn't seem like it was bothering him at all. He's been dominant the last several games, Jermaine O'Neal. Wallace will get a breather.
The last 3 games, Jermaine O'Neal, 32 points a game, 11.5 rebounds, 4 blocks, shooting 58%.
Hamilton against Jackson one-on-one. Crozier, another rebound.
Crozier's doing a very nice job. 6 starts this season. Austin Crozier, 14 points, 8 boards, almost 3 assists. Fine shooting percentage at 52.
Had become a forgotten man for a while. Artest has his shot blocked. Blocked the second time. Artest arguing and not getting back on defense. But the rest of his team did a good transition game.
Steven Jackson has played an excellent all-around game. And in himself, all game long.
And Tinsley touched the ball after Prince lost it on the baseline. So the Pistons will get it back. Rasheed Wallace still talking to Tommy Nunez Jr. And he's got to be careful there. Second technical and you're automatically out. 2.5 remaining in the second. Pistons still sputtering.
Champion every game is huge. Pistons have handled the Pacers since they acquired Rasheed Wallace I don't think they have the effect, particularly a Pacer team is playing so short-handed right now. They have not come as prepared as they need to be.
Eldon Campbell able to put it in. We better come with respect for this Indiana team. A team that won 61 games last year, best record in the NBA. And yes, they lost to the Pistons, but they're a team that might be better than last year's. Artest calling for it against Prince. That's a foul. There's the defense of Tayshaun Prince. Ron Artest picking up his first.
Nice inside pivot right at Tayshaun Prince. Runs over, restricted zone not in effect there because the lower defensive offensive play.
Artest received the ball in the lower defensive box, so the restricted area is wiped out. But the key there is you can draw a charge when your feet are moving. Good defense from Prince.
Nice defense in Artest on the rotation.
Campbell fouled. Shot was blocked. They want a goaltend, but it wasn't there. So 2 free throws coming up for 36-year-old Eldon Campbell as Crozier picks up his second.
Talked about the overconfidence factor for the Detroit Pistons. They played so well against Minnesota on Wednesday night here. You get to the point where you think you can just turn it on at any time. And while there's a ton of time left in this game, they have allowed Indiana to get such a head of steam here. You got Rasheed Wallace losing his cool a little bit. They've done it themselves quite a hole.
Do you think it's overconfidence, or do you think it's more of you lose your edge a little bit, especially early in the season following an NBA championship?
No, because generally that's when you're at your best, as long as you're healthy. They have struggled. This is the first game they've really struggled when they've been healthy and they've had a full complement of players.
Well, they've cut the lead to 15. It was as many as 20 just a few minutes ago. O'Neal.
Nice defense, Eldon Campbell. A lot of standing around that possession by the Pacers.
Pacers have now missed their last 7 shots from the field, so the Pistons defense has certainly picked up. Richard Hamilton running Steven Jackson over screen after screen. Campbell, the guy they're going to right now. Coming up on a minute remaining here in the first half. A half that has been dominated by the road team. Tinsley rattles in the 3. That's the 6th three-pointer of the game for the Pacers.
I think the great thing about this performance for Rick Carlisle's Pacers tonight is the fact that the backcourt has not turned the ball over.
How about Tinsley? 8 points, 5 assists, 5 steals, and he doesn't have a single turnover. That's what you want from a point guard. Hamilton, quick release. Richard Hamilton, the only Piston in double figures with 10.
Tinsley has not had a good run the last week. Last 3 games, only 6 points a game, 20% shooting. Nice.
Nearly turned it over that time, and it'll be a held ball. Jump ball with 29.4 remaining. Well, the last time these two teams met, as we told you back on June the 1st, was Game 6 of the conference finals. Pistons won to advance to the finals. In that game, the Pacers, all they scored was 65 points for the game. I know it's a different scenario, but they've got 59 here in the first half. 3 banners now, World Championship banners for the Pistons after last year's terrific ride to an NBA title.
And each time coming out of the blocks after the championship, a very slow and sluggish start.
More substitutions. James Jones is going to quickly come in. Crozier will sit. Darvin Ham has come out for the Pistons.
I like James Jones. He doesn't get to play very much at all. Out of the University of Miami, where he's an academic All-American. Nice touch. Excellent footwork. Hard-working guy.
Ben Wallace wins the tip. Phillips has been quiet. Just 5 points in the first half. Hamilton trying to draw some contact. Shot clock turned off.
Indiana doing a better job taking care of their defensive board at this juncture.
And a 3-second violation call against Ron Artest. The Pistons will have 3.2 remaining to get off the final shot. Larry Brown will use his 22nd timeout, which you can't carry over into the second half, so we can diagram the play.
Indiana doing a nice job of playing with a small lineup. So many of their big guys out. Their starting center, Jeff Foster, Scott Pollard hasn't been able to play. They come in and they're playing a quick-hitting attack. I like it. Like Phoenix, like Seattle, like Dallas.
They have 12 assists and just 4 turnovers. They've turned it over the last couple of times on the floor. So prior to that, we're really taking care of the ball. And this is an area that they were really struggling in. Coming into the game, they were averaging 19 turnovers a game, which was 28th in the NBA.
Steven Jackson was guilty of a lot of those. He was getting well over 4 turnovers a game in the last week or so.
But Tinsley has run the show well, and bench, though depleted, has done a solid job. Jackson, by the way, stays in the game. Billups trying to get off the shot. Wallace, that'll count if it goes.
Excellent execution of the way they drew that play up. Rasheed threw it in, and then he got it back on the run.
Not a bad attempt, but not a good first half.
Somebody get Larry Brown some crutches, please. That is not good just 2 weeks after major hip surgery.
And Brown not happy with the first half. The Pacers certainly are. Let's go to Jim Gray.
Down there, let me know.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. 18 points for Ron Artest. What was the discussion right here at the end of the half?
Am I getting fouled down there? What do you think? You watching me?
I'm not an official. I don't have a whistle.
Are you watching?
I'm watching
Am I
it.
getting fouled a little bit? Come on.
I can't answer that. That's not my decision. Let me ask you about the game out here. How are you guys managing to dominate the Pistons so thoroughly tonight?
We're just playing team ball, you know. I mean, everybody say the same thing. It's boring, but that's what we're doing, playing team ball.
And welcome back to NBA Friday here on ESPN. A very impressive first half performance by the Indiana Pacers. They lead the defending champion Pistons 59-43, just a few moments away from the start of the third quarter. Leading scorer in the game, Ron Artest has 18 points. He's missed his last 3 shots, but 6 of 12 overall, hit 2 of 3 from three-point range. Here's some of the looked at some of the numbers. The Pacers are shooting it at 47% as compared to just 39% for the Pistons. They've also got 5 more assists, so moving the ball a bit more effectively. Both teams shooting very well from the free throw line. The Pistons actually getting the better of the rebounding battle, but you know the big number here is the three-point shooting. The Pacers have made 6 of 9 from three-point land. Pistons just 1 of 5, so a difference of 5 three-point baskets for 15 points right there. Pretty much that the big stat. And the Pacers turned the ball over just 4 times in the first half, and that is outstanding for them on the season. One of the worst teams taking care of the basketball, turning it over almost 19 times a game. A first half against the league champion with just 4 turnovers, playing very clean basketball. Looking back at the first half, Tinsley getting it into the lane, finding Ron Artest. Blocked once by Tayshaun Prince, but stays with it. Misses there. And Crocier with the follow. And off the steal, Artest uses the body well to shield off, gets the hoop and the harm. And then check this out. The no-look pass. O'Neal slamming it home off the feed from Jamal Tinsley. Jermaine O'Neal, the only other Pacer in double digits. He's got 11 to go along with 5 rebounds. So the Artest and O'Neal combination up front continuing to carry the load for Indiana. 29 points between them. Chauncey Billups, though, very quiet for the Pistons, averaging 19 a game. He has just 5 in the first half, taking only 3 shots. Rip Hamilton's 10 points leads the way, but he is only 3 for 10 from the field. So the Pistons not shooting the ball particularly well. Larry Brown in some pain after the hip surgery, back much earlier. Just cannot stay away from his basketball team. And right now, that team is down by 16 points as we get ready to start the third quarter at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Here's Mike Breen and Bill Walton.
I think after getting beaten up in the Olympics, he just wants to be back part of the winning basketball situation.
Wallace on the follow. Wallace on the follow.
Is there an echo in here?
Well, they need a little. We saw the intensity, especially on the defensive end, pick up a bit in the second quarter, but they put themselves in a 20-point hole.
But they're just down 14 right now. In NBA basketball, that's nothing.
Artest can't finish. It's fun watching Artest and Prince, two Talented young players, two very good defensive players, two players with different styles.
Totally different. The power and intensity and exuberance of a Ron Artest, the laid-back, almost Jamal Wilkes style. Nice power play by Ben Wallace.
And that phrase, power play, we didn't see that a lot in the first half from the Pistons. And all of a sudden, it's a blowout game.
Indiana cannot be satisfied. They just got to come out and continue the attack. The small lineup worked wonders for Rick Carlisle.
Crozier. Shot contested beautifully by Prince. While at the floor, Chauncey Billups quiet in the first half. And O'Neal the rebound.
Chauncey Billups, second in the NBA in three-point shooting this year.
Behind Bothkan Nakbar of the Rockets,
who hasn't taken nearly as many.
He's only taken a few, actually. Artest finding Tinsley. And Tinsley can't connect.
Things have changed, Mike, the opening moments here.
Well, again, the intensity defensively for the Pacers. See the numbers for some of the scores in the first half. Wallace. And a foul. Jermaine O'Neal picks up the personal, though that's his third foul.
Ben Wallace, who has really worked on his offensive game. He spends a ton of time for the game working with an oversized basketball. It's the same weight as a regular official